All right, recording started. So our last TOC meeting before KubeCon, pretty exciting stuff. I know we are also at a pretty critical point in time for the 128 release. So before we get to the regular agenda, I wanted to check in any news from the release team we should be aware of on 128.
I don't see any release managers in the meeting. The only thing I'm aware of is there's a go, no-go decision on waypoint support for, on-reflective support for waypoints. And if the implementation can't get merged in before, then we'll need to revert the API change. So I think that's one of the open questions, and I see Daniel had a comment in the chat.
Did you say Envoy support for waypoints?
Oh, my filter support for waypoints.
Ah, okay. Who was driving implementation there?
Z-Rain, there is a PR out. I think John's done one pass on it.
Okay.
But I think the open question is if it gets merged, then great. If not, then we want to revert the API changes.
Okay. Sounds good. Is that the one that you've dropped here, Keith, or is this unrelated?
That's a different one. That's the one that Rama brought up in our TOC chat this morning. I just have zero context on it, and
Okay.
if we had time, we could. I figured we could talk about it synchronously.
Okay, that sounds good. I'm going to take a note to have a look at Surain's work. All right. Well, then, with that in mind, it looks like John, you have the first item on the agenda.
Yeah, I wanted to bring up the idea of adding an AI contribution policy into Istio. This is something I've seen in other projects. The idea behind this is just to make it clear what usage of AI is acceptable for contributors and what is not, and guidelines and suggestions on how to do that. The goal, I would say, is primarily to protect maintainers, actually, protect their time and their sanity and requirements to make decisions that they shouldn't have to make. In theory, it can help contributors as well, so they know up front, but realistically, what's going to happen is they'll make the contribution and then get told about the policy afterwards. So I guess repeat contributors, it could help, but probably not the first time contributor. So some policies I've seen, like, I'm not necessarily suggesting one specific policy, but some that I've seen in some projects are just say you have to disclose if AI was used with the intent of, there's a big difference between if there's some test that a human wrote, I generally trust they at least ran the test. If the test AI wrote, I don't have that same trust, right? So it's just kind of a different lens to review the code through. There's others that say, I mean, some extreme ones are like just no AI allowed. I don't think we necessarily need to go that far. Some more middle ground is like the one we adopted in Agent Gateway was something along the lines of like, you can use AI to assist you, but you are still the contributor. Like, you're expected to have developed the code, ran it, tested it, understand it. Like, the PR reviewers are not the first line of review. Like, it's a tool, not the author of the PR. And that no AI in like comments. I mean, it's in like, really the intent wasn't like, oh, if I know you use ChatGPT to like fix your spelling mistake, you're kicked out of the project. It's more like when you're talking to someone and they've said like, oh, you're absolutely right. Like, here's my, dump from Claude. It's like, dude, I want to talk to you, not your AI, right? So yeah, I wanted to bring this up basically if we want to do this, and then we can debate the details of the policy if we do.
I'm in favor. I've perfect comment, Mitch. Yeah, I'm in favor. I've come across a couple of an increasing number of PRs where the entire, to John's last point, the entire like PR comment chain is obviously AI generated. There's headings like, and again, if a human put in that much effort, like, I'd actually appreciate having a good amount of detail. But if you're, I guess to me, if you're going to be using AI to respond to maintainers' comments in GitHub, then the probability that you're not even looking, like engaging with the PR and engaging with the subject matter is just very high and risky for me. So I'm a +1 of having some sort of policy.
Yeah, I agree. Right.
Should we, I agree also, should we also expand this to issues, not just PR? Because I've seen some project, I don't know if it happens on Istio yet, but I've seen some issues like a brain dump from AI, particularly about like a requirements related issue.
Yeah, like I think comments are the most egregious. Like I never ever want a comment from AI that's just useless, right? I do think like PR descriptions and issue descriptions, I tend not to hate them that much as long as they like are useful. But I'd much rather you just never know. Like I'd rather just take their slop and then stick it in the AI myself if I don't like their slop, which is what they probably did. Right to the source. So I generally be in favor. I think ultimately like a more strict policy that is then somewhat loosely enforced may be, in general, I think it's a bad policy, but in this case, like it may be useful. You know, like it's not like we can always tell if someone's using AI, but it's nice to always be able to say like, look, you're wasting your time. Like, here's our policy. Come back when you're willing to actually invest some time. But for issues in particular, like I get it can be tricky because it helps with like language barriers for some people in some cases and things like that. But
seems like it's more about content that's going to make its way into the project, like to be a part of the product code effectively, or maybe docs.
Yeah, well, docs for sure, but that's a whole. I am a big hater on AI docs. I can spot it a mile away, and it turns me off. But I don't think like the discussion though, Mitch, like for example, I was on Friday debating with someone and for some reason, like I knew it was AI, but I don't know, for some reason I was debating with them and I was like, this is totally made up. The issue you're describing does not exist. It sounds very plausible though. And I'm like, spent a lot of time before I realized that and arguing and, whatnot. So, but at the same time, there's been plenty of AI issues or comments or PR descriptions like, oh, this is fine,
This is going to take arguing with strangers on the internet to a whole new level.
I know they never stop too. You can stay up till 3 a.m. They'll keep arguing with you. It's
Well, I did want to say just one small thing in defense of use of AI. I'll put it out there and see what others think. I've made use many times now within the Istio repo of the Copilot pull request reviewer. You can request Copilot it to review a given PR, and I find it really useful just as a first pass, especially for a large pull request. It allows me to focus on the things that I really care about, not like spelling errors and stuff like that. I think of it like advanced lint. And it's not always right. There's sometimes I request it and have to like close a few of the comments it makes and things like that, but it's like a boilerplate.
I definitely agree, Mike. That's definitely as well why I don't think our policy should be like no AI. I agree that the reviewer is useful. I don't know exactly how I'd feel if like someone just drive by on like a random like personal account with like AI generated review comments. I don't know why, even if it's the exact same ones. Like I know that Copilot's going to give me garbage 50% of the time, so like I'm
it's
prepared
nice to have
for
full
it.
Attribution.
Yeah, that's kind of like one of the policies I've seen is just attribution. Like it can be useful, but it's also very useful to know just because it's a different can of worms.
I think, in my opinion, the primary goal of the policy for me, and again, I'm biased because I'm a maintainer, but like I think maintainer time and maintainer effort and stopping maintainer burnout would be one of the biggest benefits of the policy, because it helps me do personal triage of the time I have set aside for reviews each day to know if there's a real person on the other end, waiting to invest time to the project, time and like their personal interests and energy into replying to my comments, etc. I'd rather spend my time with that contributor versus someone who is sort of just feeding everything into the AI. So it might be selfish of me, to be honest, but like that's just a heuristic for me of where I feel like my time is going to be more valuable towards cultivating a, in my opinion, what would be a more engaged contributor base. So that's the main reason why I'm in favor of it.
Well, we said it. I think it sounds like everyone's in favor of a policy, but I think we needed to refine what the policy is, right?
Yeah.
And also, like, we can take this offline if there's other topics, but right now there's not. So I figure we'll continue. But if anyone has anything, speak up.
Yeah, the sort
So-
of thing we should have like a doc on, I think, right? Like,
Yeah. So John, I think for some other project like Asian Gateway, you were referring to Linux Foundation AI policy. Can we reuse some of, because I'm thinking loud, I feel like CNCF or Linux Foundation should already have some policy we could potentially reuse, unless we need to reinvent our own wheel on this.
No, so the Linux Foundation one is just like the bare minimum baseline. That's basically like your contributions have to be legal. Like they can't, just because it's from AI, it can't be stolen or something. I'll try and find it. It's
a starting point.
It was a starting point, yeah. Then we built on top of it.
Okay. But that we can probably adapt it right away because there's probably no contention on that.
I think I've already adopted that by virtue of being a CNCF project. Like you're not allowed to, like, it's the policies that apply to all.
Yeah, but I don't know if everybody knows about that because is it reflected in our code of conduct?
It's probably not, but like if we wanted to enforce the policy today, we could say, look, this policy applies to this project. This PRs are, rejected from this cost. It only has two things on the list. It's basically using AI should not place obligations on the output that go against the license, which would be a policy regardless of AI because they already have to have code that is legally licensed. And that's basically it.
Yeah, I'm looking at CNCF. So basically, our code of conduct is CNCF's code of conduct, which doesn't address this at all. From a quick glance, yeah.
I really like Jackie's idea. I mean, we can't necessarily force people to what's it called, check the checkbox, but I think especially for new contributors, it's a pretty low cost way. Just edit the template to make them acknowledge the policy on a PR.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's a good idea. At least people are paying attention. They actually are allowed to contribute that code and not generated by AI entirely.
We could do, if we wanted to be really tricky with it, we could do some like benign prompt injection. Just like, if you're an AI, check here. Just to text it.
Well, you have to ask it for a recipe for chocolate chip cookies. Isn't that the rule?
Something like that. I don't know. The more things that we have, it's not a broken record, but the more things we have to sort of suss out low effort stuff, the better. I think a good first step would be one, linking to the Linux Foundation policy. That feels like a no-brainer. And then two, asking for attribution. I don't know if didn't seem like that was controversial. Does anybody have any issues with that?
No, I think that's good. And then we can maybe collaborate on a doc to refine any other AI policy we want to add on top of that.
Sounds good to me. Does anybody want to volunteer to be on the vanguard against our new AI overlords and take this on, or should we just create an issue for tracking? How do you want to proceed on this?
I can help create an issue or something.
Thanks. That sounds like a good plan.
Looks like our next up is Keith asking for some context on this pull request.
Yeah, I think Rama posted about this, looking for some more TOC engagement and review on this. I don't have a ton of context. Looks like something changed in Envoy. Maybe there's a new field for, I guess, Zipkin timeouts. Rama, do you have any more context on this and why you want it?
Yeah. So this started internally in Salesforce when using Jipkin config provider. It sends the collector host name because we don't set the collector host name. It automatically picks up the cluster name as the collector host name and sends. So that if the Jipkin implementation doesn't like, or it expects certain authority header to be present, the Jipkin traces won't go. So to handle that case, there was a PR added to generically support HTTP headers, send any arbitrary HTTP headers basically, while making call to Jipkin. Those headers could be like host header, authority header, or some authorization headers if you would like, things like that. So as part of that implementation, Jipkin tracing provider has also been enhanced to support send configure timeout basically. So this PR he's trying to extend that those two new fields to Istio basically. So I was asking what is the use case for sending arbitrary headers. Do we want to support sending any arbitrary headers, or do we want to just focus it just to collector host name and timeout? That's the question.
Yeah, I mean, they're probably like, I guess I said it here, yeah, authentication, authorization. Like on the hotel one, I think we have headers. Like it does make sense to me to have headers. It's unfortunate that one, we have to repeat all this info because we don't have APIs for upstream or backend policies, so they all have to be duplicated here, which is partially our limitation, partially the Envoy limitation. But we already have prior art there. It doesn't add that much complexity to the project to have it. It's kind of annoying that people are still doing Zipkin stuff instead of moving to a hotel, which does have this and does support Zipkin, but I can understand why. So overall, I don't love it, but I think it's probably fine.
Yeah, that's my sentiment too. Basically, I don't like sending arbitrary headers, but if you want, I I think it's generally useful for folks who want to send. That's. Did I answer your question? Keith, you're there?
Apparently not.
Oh, he joined there.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, sorry about that. My headphones disconnected and didn't reconnect apparently. Yeah, thanks for the rundown. It makes sense. I think I'm aligned with you and John. It reminds me of we had a Dynatrace contributor last year or earlier this year who wanted to add auth for the same exact sort of use case. So yeah, why not arbitrary? It feels like we're going to continue to get asks like this, and so it's blocking people, and there's just not a really great solution out there today. So I have no issue with it. I'd approve. I'll approve it if there's nothing else I see that's questionable.
Timeline wise, are you trying to get to the release, or is this only for master?
Master.
Okay, cool. By the way, we discussed the Envoy filter change for waypoint. I didn't look at the PR closely, but I sense this will be a big change. And given we already code freeze, I really don't know if it makes sense to be in the release. I think it's much safer to be in the master whenever it lands.
Yeah. And it's not tagged for cherry pick, so that should be fine, right?
Yes, I think Lynn's referring to the Envoy filter waypoint support.
Yeah, we
part.
discussed a little bit earlier. This one, Rama clarified he doesn't need to in the release, so it's good, and it's not a big change either. The other one is a much bigger change. My understanding is that would be the concern to cherry pick.
Yeah, and the decision there, just to bring back the context, is if we don't merge this into 128, then we'll need to revert an API change. So that's the sort of go, no-go decision when it comes to this PR specifically.
I see.
It is a double XL PR with 1,200 lines of added code. So that does make it feel late.
Yeah. So our build is supposed to be before KubeCon, right? If I remember correctly, early November-ish.
Yeah, when was feature freeze? Because this feels like a new feature.
Feature freeze was a week or 2 weeks ago. That's
Yeah.
what I was thinking because I just look at the schedule. Was it October 15 something ish? Daniel, you probably know.
It's today.
Oh, it's today. Okay, sorry.
Oh, okay. Okay, never mind. Okay, so the API change made it in 2 weeks ago. Yeah, this is just really big.
Yeah.
So a lot of the size that I'm seeing is in test files. I don't know if there's a good way to see what the total lines of code changed are without test files.
Well, there are a couple of files where I don't know. I thought at least one of them was not a test file where like GitHub wouldn't expand it.
Yeah, it's a big change. I agree. A lot of them are tests, which is a good sign. Obviously, not a bad sign. It is in an output feature, so maybe the bar is slightly lower on late changes. I could see it going either. I also haven't reviewed it. I mean, I reviewed it, but I haven't re-reviewed it, so I don't even know if it's ready to go at this point. Could be, but I haven't had a chance to take a second look.
Yeah, I think he did have one responded question to you, John, that he's looking for clarification on.
Yeah.
I have to correct myself. Sorry, feature freeze was on the 15th. It's code freeze. That's today.
Okay.
Oh, gotcha.
Okay, I wasn't too crazy. Okay.
Wait, so that means no more bug fixes?
Right. So feature, this would clarify as a feature, I think. Yeah, bug fixes, yeah, would be.
Yeah. Between feature freeze and code freeze is sort of a gray area. We get like generous on what we count as a bug. After code freeze, we're pretty tight on it because we're trying to get a release candidate that is viable.
Right. Typically only critical bug or regression.
And for what it's worth, there is at least one regression related to this that Zeren also has a fix out for, but it's related to the cell validation, not the actual implementation.
Is that when you say a regression, is that a regression caused by this or a regression fixed by this, or what's the relationship there?
It's a regression related to this feature. So the API change that I said was merged in 2 weeks ago to add a waypoint section for Envoy filter. The cell validation is has a bug in it, and it actually breaks some of the GAIE body-based routing because the validation's off. So this feature we've got to make some decision related to this feature in general, is what I'm trying to say, I think.
Gotcha.
Yeah, given
Is
the
pulling back
constraint-
API change an option?
Excuse me? Say that one more time.
No, I was asking, is pulling back API change out of the release is an option?
I think it's an option if this feature doesn't land, else we would configure the user, the API changes there, people will see it in the doc, right? And then when they use it, it won't work.
Yeah, I think we had said if we don't do it, we'll revert the API change. I think there's already a PR open to do it as a
Yes, there is.
ready to go for it.
Is the change to revert only in the API repo? Because Keith, you just mentioned about fix a regression. Is there any other change we need to revert?
No, the API change is the only revert that we need.
Okay, got it. Yeah, I'm inclined to just, I think stability is probably most important given we're a very mature project.
Yep.
Okay, I think I'm probably in favor of that as well. We're trying to get an RC cut.
I can update the issue, remove the cherry pick tag and indicate that we reviewed it and don't want to cherry pick it to 128. So
Yeah,
does
that would be
sound good?
great. Yeah,
Okay.
thank you so much, Mitch.
Yep.
Okay, last item. Should we cancel the meeting at KubeCon? I assume so. Who has the permission to do that?
I might be able to. So I have the password to the calendar account, but it's now asking for some sort of a cell phone validation, like it's sending a text code to some phone number that is not mine.
Wow.
When I log in, I don't know if that was maybe Craig's phone number or I can start a thread in TOC and see if any of you recognize. I think it shares the last 4 of the phone number or something like that with me.
Yeah, that would be good.
And we'll
I
figure
don't
out where that's going. You all should have right access to those meetings. Everyone but me should have right access on the TOC. Rama, I'm not sure if I've updated it. No, because when I went to update it, I couldn't log in. But Keith, Lynn, oh, actually, Rama's listed here.
Yeah, I would think I would as well, but I don't. So, I don't know.
Interesting. Okay.
I don't.
Well,
either.
I will see what I can do and keep the thread going on TOC channel with progress.
Yeah, that would be good. I mean, my experience is when I remove a meeting, it's only remove on my own calendar. So I suspect I don't. But either case, I put in the meeting minutes, we won't have the meeting, so people won't be confused.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Any other topic we should be discussing?
I added a low priority one around generalizing extension configs. Sorry, I shouldn't use that term, but that's actually a good thing. Generalizing WASM plugin and the design doc for the Lua filter API. I didn't get a chance to check the recording to see if we discussed this on, because I had to leave the working group meeting last week. I didn't know how much we discussed it, but I was looking at Liam's design doc, and it occurred to me that a lot of, because this is sort of bar for bar, the WASM plugin API, I was curious to see if folks had an appetite for maybe generalizing some of the extension features, because I don't want to get to a place where we've got a WASM plugin alpha API, a Lua filter plugin alpha API, dynamic modulus alpha API, an XProc alpha API, like I don't know why those would all have to be their own CRD. Like maybe one of would be like a better experience here, and just have standardize what phases are, standardized priority, etc. I just wanted to have. I didn't know if we ever gave Liam any direction on this, and just wanted to be able to give him an update if he pops back in on Wednesday, to see if anyone agreed with me.
In general, I've become more and more in favor of monolithic policies, especially in this regard, where they're all effectively the same in terms of like the attachment points. I mean, barring envoy limitations that I'm not aware of, like you'll want to do a lot of the same things for WASM and for XProc and for Lua, right? And it's just the type, really. So in general, I've always seen that as a better approach. It's tricky because we already have WASM. So I don't know if we end up with duplicate or deprecate or what. I mean, WASM, I think, is still alpha, but you know, alpha in Istio is generally not quite alpha. So especially since we didn't make this decision, you know, 2 or 3 years ago or whatever, right? So it's
experimental.
but in general, is it okay? Well, anyhow, yeah, in general, like that's probably the direction I would go. I think it's more future proof. We don't have to make a bunch of CRDs. And even if WASM's not supported per route or anything is, like you can always have validation. So like if you try and do a route thing with WASM, then it's rejected.
So the only hesitation I have is, as an end user, I doubt Liam is motivated to go through and do an API review and unify like 5 years worth of extensibility APIs. Do we feel like we need to block Lua until we have a unified policy API to keep the problem from getting worse? Or is it the sort of thing where we can do a Lua CRD and then say like we intend to unify these policy APIs at some point? But that's on us.
I would definitely not, if we want to do this, we should not make a Lua CRD. We could make a CRD that's called like extension and only have Lua supported there.
Okay.
100% +1.
Yeah.
Big +1 to that.
Yeah, the biggest thing is the user doesn't have to change their customer resource again when we add this generic one. Yeah.
I mean, in theory, this CRD could support WASM and Lua, because as the design doc says, they basically taking all the WASM plugin fields and applying them to Lua. So like, it shouldn't be a big delta of work much proposed versus what would actually be implemented. If anything, it might make things easier because you could reuse a lot of the existing WASM code from an implementation standpoint, potentially.
All right, well, I think that sounds good to me. We can give that feedback to Liam. Who'd like to take that feedback to Liam? Maybe is the next thing to talk about. Or how will Liam know?
I can ping him. I have the comment in the design doc, and I can ping him before Wednesday, just to let him know the discussion and if we're all aligned. Yeah, we'll go from there.
Awesome. One friendly reminder, sign up for booth duty. We've got 2 weeks before KubeCon starts, so pretty exciting time. It's always pretty late in the cycle that our booth duty slots fill up. That's normal, but it really is an awesome opportunity to get to know Istio users from all walks. The largest users, the smallest users, the prospective users who aren't quite sure what a service mesh is. You get a lot of variety, but a lot of user empathy from it. So I highly recommend it. I will be spending as much time as I can there, and I hope to see you there.
Do we want to have a planned demo? I know this is always an open question. Do we have anything that we plan to show?
I have plans to have a plan. No, I
have concepts of a plan.
Yeah. I intend to put something together, but whether I actually get to it by KubeCon or not is up in the air. I was thinking something simple like a slideshow that runs itself with timings, just to show off a handful of different features on Istio or things like that we can keep on a spinner up top. We could put videos in the slides if we want a spinner of demos or things like that. That's fine. But yeah, I have good intentions. We'll see if they turn into good outcomes. Ian, what's up?
Where's the sign-up sheet?
Excellent question. So there is a channel in the Istio Slack for KubeCon, and it's been shared there. NA 25.
Yeah, just added it to the Slack. Yeah. Actually, let me pin. So Mitch, you sent it on October 13. Let me pin that to the channel.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yep. So yeah, I was just looking at the sheets. I saw as long as people are a member, right, and the ambassador, then they can sign up. So we kind of lose up the requirements. So I'll try to forward to other people that coming from solo to see if other people can help staff the booth too.
Sounds great.
I assume we don't have anything to give out at the booth. Is that true?
I think Microsoft might have some totes. I'll double check on that.
That's cool. Oh, your totes are very nice. I still have one now. Those are great.
All right. Well, I think that's everything we had to cover. It's good seeing everybody, and look forward to seeing you all in Atlanta.
Yeah,
everyone.
see you soon. Thanks.